Okay, so when we talk about electric vehicles, there's this idea, right, that they're basically maintenance-free. Just plug them in, charge them up, and you're good to go. Sounds almost too good to be true, doesn't it? No more oil changes. Bliss. But is that the full story?
Yeah, it's definitely more nuanced than just plug and play. That whole no maintenance promise, it's super appealing, I get it. But the reality, it often just shifts things around. Instead of dealing with engine trouble, you might be visiting the tire shop more often, or maybe dealing with software stuff.
That's exactly it. You've nailed the core issue. So our mission today in this deep dive is really to peel back those layers. This is for anyone out there who's curious about owning an EV. We want to cut through the hype, the myths, and get down to the actual routine maintenance. And yeah, maybe uncover some of those hidden costs or considerations. We've been digging through a really lively Reddit thread over on electric vehicles, it was called. Are there any routine maintenance stuff you need to do with an EV car? Great discussion there. And we're blending that with insights from articles, expert takes from places like Recharged, Ontario Auto Center, Drive Electric Vermont, imotonews.co.za, and Diminished Value Carolina. So let's jump in. First up, let's talk about where EVs genuinely make life simpler. Because honestly, there are some big wins here for owners. Think about your typical gas car, right? Oil changes every few months, spark plugs, air filters, checking all those fluids. It's a constant list. Someone on Reddit, Merchantcondo209, asked about exactly this stuff. And yeah, sources like iMoto News and Diminished Value Carolina, they confirm it.
With an EV, you can pretty much say goodbye to engine oil changes. Transmission fluid changes, for most models anyway. Timing belts, spark plugs, fuel system checks. Gone. That's a lot of stuff off the list.
And what's really behind that, the fundamental reason, is the mechanical simplicity. It's key. I mean, look under the hood of a gas car. It's this complex machine, right? Engine, transmission, fuel lines, exhaust. It's intricate. EVs, like Recharged and the others point out, have a much simpler setup. You've basically got the electric motor and inverter, the battery pack, fewer moving parts. It's not just about having less stuff to break. It's a whole different engineering approach. Really changes the game for long-term reliability, too.
Right. And then there's emissions testing. Gas cars burn fuel, make emissions, so in many places you got to get them tested regularly. But EVs, no tailpipe emissions.
Right.
So like Recharge mentions, that's another task, just gone. No more emissions tests. Simple as that.
And that simplicity, like you said, it really adds up for you, the listener. We're talking real savings, both money and maybe even more importantly, time. Recharged and Drive Electric Vermont. They suggest EVs cost about 50% less in maintenance over their lifetime compared to gas cars. That's significant. To put some shorter-term numbers on it, Diminished Value Carolina cites Kelley Blue Book. Over 5 years, they estimate average EV maintenance at around $4,246. Gas cars, $4,583. Now, okay, that 5-year gap might not sound massive to everyone, but it builds up over time, and there are other benefits beyond just the dollars.
That is compelling, but EVs often have a higher upfront cost. How do those long-term savings really stack up? Can you really feel that difference day to day?
Well, it's not just the cash difference, is it? It's a convenience factor, too. Think about this. Drive Electric Vermont says gas cars need about 25 more maintenance events in their lifetime. 25. That's 25 fewer times you have to go to the service station, 25 fewer times you're waiting around or figuring out a ride. Look at New York City's fleet. They went all electric with some vehicles and saw an incredible 80% drop in maintenance costs. 80%. That's a huge real-world number. It frees up time, resources.
Wow, 80% for the NYC fleet. That's massive. So what does that translate to for just a regular person, an average owner? Fewer trips to the shop? Sure, but it feels like more than that. It's like getting little pieces of your life back, right?
Exactly. Think about those hours. What could you do instead? More time with family, maybe a hobby, or just relaxing. It really changes how you interact with your car. Less upkeep, more seamless ownership.
Okay, that's a pretty powerful shift, getting hours back instead of spending them in a waiting room. But hang on, before we just declare EVs totally hassle-free, we need to talk about the other side, the areas where maintenance does still exist, and sometimes maybe even happens more often. Let's start with something basic. Tires. Every car needs them. But for EVs, it's a bit different, yeah. Imoto News and Recharged point out EVs are heavier, all that battery weight, and that instant torque, super fun, but apparently hard on tires. Is it just faster wear or something else entirely?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's often a bit of both. The weight itself puts more strain on the tires, no doubt, but then you add that immediate strong torque. Especially on the drive wheels, it means the tires are just working harder right from the get-go. More heat, more friction.
Huh. So if you enjoy that quick acceleration, maybe budget for tires more often. Sounds like that EV grin comes with a bit of a price tag for the rubber.
It is a trade-off, absolutely. You get that amazing responsiveness, but yeah, your tires might feel it, which makes regular tire rotation super, super important. Got to spread that wear evenly, help them last longer. Lots of folks on Reddit, DJ Wildstar, Raptor1, Cantinko were stressing this, and you hear some pretty wild stories on that Reddit thread. Like user HDizzle7 had a Tesla Model 3 Performance, needed 3 sets of tires in just 2 years. Granted, they mentioned performance driving, bad roads, and even some bad luck with nails, but still, 3 sets. Another user, Kidblur, same deal, third set of tires in 2 years, only 35,000 miles driven. So yeah, no oil changes, but you might be seeing your tire guy more, especially with performance models or if your roads aren't great.
That really drives home the point, doesn't it? Maintenance doesn't disappear, it just shifts
Yeah.
from the engine maybe to other parts that get stressed differently by how EVs work. Okay, what about brakes? This is usually touted as a big win for EVs, right? Regenerative braking.
Oh, absolutely. Region braking is fantastic for this. Recharge, Drive Electric Vermont, iMoto News, Diminished Value Carolina, they all talk about it. Basically, the system captures energy when you slow down, sends it back to the battery, and the big side effect, it dramatically reduces how much you use your traditional brake pads and rotors. Think about it. Gas car brakes might need pads and rotors every, 20,000 to 50,000 miles? With EVs, people going way, way longer, often well over 100,000 miles before needing replacements.
That's a huge difference. Saves money, reduces brake dust. Seems like a clear win.
Yeah.
But there's always a but, isn't there? Are they completely maintenance-free was the catch?
You're right to ask. No, not completely free. Brake fluid still needs attention. It needs to be inspected and replaced periodically. Someone on Reddit, DeGenese, mentioned their Ioniq 5 manual says every 4 years for the fluid. Timeless Blur said 3 years for their Mach-E. And a non-permalurker made a great point. Brake fluid is hygroscopic. It absorbs water from the air over time. That lowers its boiling point, which could lead to a mushy pedal feel if it gets bad. So yeah, maybe every 2 years is safer, like they suggested. Plus, and this is important especially if you live where they salt the roads, you still need to use the physical brakes sometimes. Drive Electric Vermont and a couple of Redditors mentioned this. Because Regen does so much work, the mechanical pads don't always scrape off surface rust that can build up, so occasional harder braking helps keep them clean.
Okay. That explains the why behind those specific brake checks. Good tips. Now, what about other fluids? We often hear EVs are fluid-free, but that's not quite right, is it?
No, not quite. They're definitely simpler with fluids, but not totally free of them. Take battery coolant. It's critical in many EVs for keeping the battery temperature stable. You don't want it too hot or too cold. That affects performance and longevity. Now, not all models need frequent changes, but it's a vital system. There was some chat on Reddit about the Ioniq 5 older models apparently had a pricey coolant flush, but always random user noted newer designs fix that. And DWAD Star mentioned Ford's coolant interval is like 200,000 miles. Pretty amazing. Kamir Rules pointed out BYD cars even have an annual service check focused on battery health, including coolant.
See, that really shows how much it varies between car makers. It hammers home that point. You really need to check your car's manual. Like Aaron416 on Reddit said, for the Ioniq 5, page 625 lays out the schedule for inspections, filters, brake fluid. It's not one size fits all.
Absolutely not. And beyond coolant, you've still got the basics, right? Windshield washer fluid, which Reddit user Saucy6 jokingly called a hidden EV cost, because now you actually have to remember to fill it yourself since you're not getting those regular oil change top-ups.
That's funny. Okay, washer fluid. What else?
Well, HVAC refrigerant for the air conditioning. Gotta stay cool. And while most EVs don't have traditional transmissions, some high-performance ones, like the Porsche Taycan that Recharge mentioned, actually do have gearboxes that need fluid, but those are definitely outliers.
Okay, so it really boils down to not no maintenance, but different maintenance. I like that point from Timeless Blur on Reddit, too. The lack of required maintenance, like oil changes, means things might not get looked at as often. Technicians used to do quick visual checks during those services. So does this mean EV owners need to be more proactive?
That's a really, really important point. Yes, I think it does. You, the owner, need to be a bit more on top of things. You can't just rely on those incidental checks happening during an oil change that isn't happening anymore. But the flip side is it kind of empowers you, right? You get more familiar with your specific car's needs, maybe through the car's own service reminders or just by actually, glancing at the owner's manual. It's more targeted.
That's a good way to put it. Saves money, potentially, but you're not totally off the hook. Okay, speaking of things you do need to check, let's talk filters. What's the main one in an EV?
The primary one you'll deal with is the cabin air filter. Keeps the air inside fresh. Recharged, iMoto News, DJ Wildstar, they all suggest replacing it typically every 2 to 3 years. Pretty straightforward.
Right. Though some Tesla owners on Reddit were saying they do it annually to avoid that smells like feet situation. A very relatable problem. Any other common wear and tear items?
Oh yeah, the usual suspects. Windshield wipers, probably replace those once or twice a year, same as any car. Emoto News and Diminished Value Carolina also bring up suspension components. Because EVs are heavier, there's a potential for slightly faster wear on things like bushings or shocks, something to be aware of. And, maybe surprisingly, the 12-volt battery seems to be a common replacement item, judging by Reddit. Users like Stizzle7, Emergency Machine 55, EV Rider 81 all shared stories about needing a new 12-volt, so even the simple stuff can have an EV twist.
Okay, so the takeaway seems to be expect different maintenance, not no maintenance, that's clear.
Yeah.
But now let's shift gears to the really high-tech stuff, the brains of the operation, software, and the big one, battery longevity. EVs are constantly called computers on wheels. Diminished Value Carolina and eMotor News definitely emphasize that. How does that change the maintenance picture?
This is where EVs really take a sharp turn from gas cars. It's a whole different world. As those sources explain, complex software manages pretty much everything: battery, powertrain, performance, and the cool part, updates. A lot of these are delivered over the air, OTA, just like your phone gets updates. So you can get new features, bug fixes, security patches, all while the car's parked in your driveway. No trip to the dealer needed. It's pretty revolutionary for cars. Some brands like Tesla, Polestar, Audi have even offered paid performance upgrades via software. Imagine making your car faster with a download.
That is a huge convenience factor, getting improvements while you sleep. Okay, now for the elephant in the room, battery maintenance and longevity. This is probably the single biggest worry for potential EV buyers, right? How long do these massive, expensive batteries actually last?
Yeah, it's a valid concern, but the news is generally pretty good. Modern EV batteries, they're built to last. Ontario Auto Centre says typical lifespan is 10 to 20 years. Many are hitting well over 200,000 miles easily. Complete battery failure. It's actually really rare, according to Drive Electric Vermont. It's not the ticking time bomb some people fear.
That's definitely reassuring. So what's the key to making them last that long? Are there like best practices for owners, things you should or shouldn't do?
Oh, absolutely. There are definite ways to maximize battery life. Managing temperature is huge. Avoiding extreme heat and extreme cold helps slow down degradation. That's highlighted by Ontario Auto Centre, iMoto News, Drive Electric Vermont. Also, try to avoid relying only on DC fast chargers all the time. They're great for road trips, but for regular daily charging, level 2 home charging is gentler on the battery chemistry. And the big one, try to keep the state of charge roughly between 20% and 80% for your day-to-day driving. Don't always charge to 100% or run it down to zero unless you need the range. Lots of EVs have software to help manage this automatically now.
And it's good to know there's actual data supporting this longevity, right?
You mentioned some studies.
Yeah, Ontario Auto Centre cited a couple. One from P3 and Avalue looked at over 7,000 EVs and found really strong battery health generally after several years. Another analysis by Geotab looked at over 5,000 EVs. They're finding an average degradation rate of just 2.3% per year. So think about that. A 5-year-old EV would likely still have around 88% of its original battery capacity. That's pretty solid. We're seeing early Tesla Model S cars cruising past 200,000 miles, no problem. And don't forget the warranties. Most manufacturers offer 8 or 10 years or 100,000 miles covering the battery against major failure. That provides real peace of mind, as Jizzle7 noted on Reddit too.
It really does. That warranty is key. It is. And yeah, battery replacement is expensive if it ever comes to that. Estimates range maybe $5,000 to $20,000 depending on the car. But again, super rare for newer EVs. Drive Electric Vermont puts the chance at less than 1% for models from 2016 onwards. Plus, there's a lot of innovation happening in battery reuse and recycling, which will help bring down those long-term costs and the environment footprint. That's a positive trend.
Okay, definitely encouraging on the battery front. But what about other repairs? If something non-routine breaks on an EV, like a major electronic component, is it more expensive? Diminished Value Carolina seem to suggest it could be.
That can be the case, yeah. It boils down to a few things. You need specialized tools for high-voltage systems. The electronic components themselves can be pricey. And right now, there are just fewer technicians fully trained in complex EV repairs compared to traditional mechanics. Kelley Blue Book's estimate actually put EV repair costs slightly higher over 5 years, $1,712 versus $1,695 for gas cars. So it's kind of a trade-off. You save significantly on routine maintenance, but if a major specialized repair is needed, it could cost more.
Interesting. So lower running costs day to day, but potentially higher costs for unexpected major issues.
Potentially. But technology is moving fast here, too. Ontario Auto Center mentioned new battery chemistries like LFP, lithium iron phosphate. They're known for being really stable, long-lasting, and safer. And then there's the next big leap. Solid-state batteries. Everyone's working on those. They promise even longer life, faster charging, more energy packed in.
Mhm.
They could really change the game again. The tech isn't standing still.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive today, the picture that emerges is pretty clear, isn't it? EVs definitely mean less traditional maintenance. You really are ditching the oil changes, the spark plugs, the exhaust checks, the emissions tests. And those savings, both in time and money over the years, they're real. That's a genuine plus for owners. But, and it's a big but, it's not zero maintenance. It's about understanding a different kind of car care. You'll be paying more attention to tires, making sure rotations happen, keeping an eye on brake fluid and using the friction brakes occasionally, checking coolant levels if your car has it, changing cabin air filters, and of course, practicing good habits for battery health. It's a shift in focus, really, not getting rid of maintenance altogether.
Exactly. And thinking about that long-term picture leads to a really interesting final thought for you folks listening. Consider this. If the average EV battery only degrades by about 2.3% per year, like that geotab data suggests, and electric motors themselves can potentially last almost indefinitely, maybe just needing bearings replaced eventually, how could that fundamentally alter our whole idea of vehicle ownership, the very lifespan of cars? Could we start seeing cars as much longer-term investments, things you keep for 15, 20 years, or maybe even pass down instead of trading in every few years? It really makes you wonder how things might look in the decades ahead, something to chew on.